And I think they already shared their first slide.
Yes, Pooja.
Okay, good. So at the end of the session, I'm going to share the session code and the Microsoft URL where you need to enter the session code. The person who brings up the most corrective session code, they may be chosen for the winner. So we will definitely share it at the end of the session. So stage is all yours.
Okay, so we can start, right, Pooja?
Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi guys, good morning. Thanks for joining our session. So this is the very first time an event or the summit has been completely focused on Azure, entirely on the security part. And today we are going to discuss how you can build. Uh, Guys, please mute yourself. There are background noises. Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead. I have muted some of the participants.
Okay. What else you can just mute all, and I will unmute myself.
Okay.
Yeah, sure, we do. Yeah, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, today we are going to discuss how you can uh, build applications or the consumer-focused applications uh, using Azure Active Directory B2C, and also how you can secure it. Actually, our main focus is how you can secure your applications using Azure AD B2C. So before jumping into the session, I just want to know how many of you have heard about Azure AD. What is Azure AD? If you have heard about or if you have used thing, you just use the thumbs up icon in the chat window. You can just press the thumbs up icon in the reactions window in the top right in the Teams. Okay, suppose if you have not, I will be explaining everything. So very first thing is you need to understand what is Azure Active Directory. I think many of you might be using Office 365 or Microsoft 365. It is a complete productivity suite provided by Microsoft for for the enterprises, SMBs, everyone. So this Office 365 entire productivity suites identity system is managed by Azure Active Directory. The identity, the identity means what I meant is that identity management. What I meant is that maintaining or managing all the user credentials, that is provisioning an account for the user. Suppose if the user has forgotten his password, he need to provide some ability for the user to reset the password, editing their profiles and everything, and also managing it securely. Those are the main responsibilities of an identity provider. So Azure AD is one of the identity provider which is mainly used by the organizations, where the organizations will maintain all their employees account and everything. And Office 365 use that Azure AD as their backend service for their identity service. Then comes Azure AD B2C. So let's assume that you are going to build a consumer-facing applications, something like an CRM app, or you are going to have a shopping cart website, um, or whatever it can be. Even it can be first you are going to develop a web application. Later you might want to provide an mobile app to your users, or maybe in later stage you may want to expose APIs for integration with the third-party systems, like whatever it is. Suppose if you are going to build anything that is consumer facing, there you can use the expertise of Azure AD B2C. So assume that you are going to develop some shopping cart or whatever it is. You are developing the application. So to provide some interface for the user to log in and everything, what the first thing what you will be doing is that you need to collect the user details, and then you need to allow the way for the user to create an username and password. And finally, you will be storing it in your own database in a secured manner. That's the thing you will be doing when you are developing your own system. So once the user came to know that all the user data and the passwords are going to be saved in your database, oh my God, the users might get uh, confused, or there might be some alarm, whatever it is. They won't feel easy. Then what this kind of feedback that you will be start receiving. Then what you might think is that, okay, let me provide a login with Facebook in my application. Like that you may be thinking, and you will be getting the Facebook login into your application. So instead of doing everything and managing yourself, let's give all these responsibilities to Azure AD B2C. Azure AD B2C can maintain everything. It will be providing you the social media login like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Microsoft account, whatever it is. They will be providing a bunch of even Gmail, Apple ID, everything is available in the social media provider types. And then even these traditional types like providing the user login using an username and password, or login with the phone number OTP, those kind of stuffs also you can provide. So in general, Azure AD B2C is a cloud identity service provider. They are the cloud identity service provider. So one, you can take away the identity responsibilities from your application, and you can just focus on building your business solution or the business logic alone, and then provide the rest of the things to the Azure AD B2C. It will handle all the identity part and the security thing also. That's the main thing. So once you have integrated Azure AD B2C with your application, suppose if you are creating a new application and a new service that you are going to provide to your customers, again, the users no need to sign up for the system. The reason is that the user might be already signed up for your service, and it is available in your Azure AD B2C tenant. So there is no need for the user to make the sign up again. So in this case, you can provide a single sign-on experience for all your applications or all your solutions together. That is also possible. Apart from that, if the user forgets his password, the Azure AD B2C will provide a way or the interface to reset his password. And it will provide a bunch of things like editing the profile, updating his profile, creating the sign up flow, sign in flow. Everything is available in Azure AD B2C. You just need to make a few settings, turn on, and you are good to go. So this is Azure AD B2C. When it comes to the security part, suppose if you are a game developer, uh, initially you might be thinking about using your own identity system. You might be building your own identity system. As days goes by, the people will ask for something called MFA, multi-factor authentication. The reason is that in the current scenarios or in the current world, uh, the security is foremost, and the users might come back to you to ask you for provide an MFA also for my account, like that. Then again, you need to integrate or you need to build the systems for MFA. That is not required. That is not none of your headache. And similarly, uh, if you are maintaining all your users information in your database, again, you need to take care of the security also. Sometimes even we don't even know that the system has got compromised. So these are the things that you need to take into your head, and you need to process it, and then you need to provide various controls for the security. Those are none of your job. And as a developer, you can just focus on your business logic alone, and leave it the rest, the security and the management and everything, to Azure AD B2C. In Azure AD B2C, we have the conditional access policies. You have controls to block and allow the access. We have MFA. Even we are going to get the signals from their entire security graph, like what are the risky sign-ins, what are the risky users, who are the risky users, what are the risky actions they have done, what are the anonymous IPs or the bot IPs that they are trying to hack, the hackers are using. So everything there in the Microsoft is maintaining in the security graph, and they are going to use those intelligence and the knowledge in Azure AD B2C, and in turn we are going to get benefit. We are going to get benefit out of it. So this is the agenda for today's session. First, we are going to see how you can use Azure AD B2C for your sample application. So in our case, what we are going to do is that we are going to see how you can use login with the phone feature. This is a new feature that got introduced few months back. So the idea for the first part of the demo is that to provide you a better understanding what is Azure AD B2C and how quickly you can integrate Azure AD B2C with your application. That's the main idea. And then we are going to demo you the identity protection. In identity protection, we are going to show you how you can use conditional access policies and what are the sign-in risk and the user risk, how you can integrate these risks with conditional access policy to make decisions or the actions. And then we will be showing the report of sign-in and the user risk also. And then we are going to demo on API connectors. And then finally, we will be discussing something called continuous access evaluation. So before jumping into the demo, there are few things that you need to understand. The very first thing is user flows. So what is user flow? In Azure AD B2C, using user flow, you can define the business logic for your users to gain access into your application. For example, you can define or determine the sequence of steps the users need to make to get access into your application. For example, if he is going to sign in, if he is going to sign up for your application, what are the steps or what are the things you need to collect? Very first thing is you need to create an user ID and then some basic profile information like display name, city, country, whatever it is. And then if once everything is completed, uh, you can create an user in the Azure AD B2C tenant, and then you can redirect the user to your application. Similar to the sign-in, how you want to, what are the steps required by the user for the sign-in. It is going to be simple. You just need, we are going to validate the user. Once the credentials are valid, then they are going to get the access. So basically, the user flow is nothing but the sequence of steps the users needs to follow to gain access to your application. It can be the user flows. There are different kind of user flows. One is predefined user flows and then the custom policies. In predefined user flows, there's nothing or a few turn on, turn off things that you need to make. Everything is pre-configured. You can use those predefined configurable policies in your application. These user flows are ready-made and tailored one, and you can use this for sign up action or sign in action or profile editing, password reset. For every action related to identity management, it is available in the predefined one. And then the custom policies where you can define your own user journeys. That is for major complex identity experience scenarios. But in today's demo, we are going to focus on predefined user flows alone. So let's jump into the demo. So I am in the Azure Active Directory. Uh, So very first thing is that to use Azure AD B2C, you need to create an Azure AD B2C tenant. So go to the home and then create a resource. Everything is same, whatever the way that you use Azure portal to create a VM or web app, it is going to be same for Azure AD B2C also. So I need to select the Azure Active Directory B2C. And then I just need to follow the simple steps and then I can create. I have already created an Azure AD B2C tenant, and this is the tenant ggaddemo.onmicrosoft.com. So I have already created an Azure AD B2C tenant. Let's go into the settings. First thing, once you have created your Azure AD B2C tenant, you need to enable the identity providers. What are the identity providers you want to enable it for your application? It can be Google, it can be GitHub, it can be Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all the social media service providers. It can be even right now Apple ID is in preview, and then in and then we have something called local account where you can provide a traditional way of logins, like the user can create their own username, or user can log in with their email, or the user can log in with their phone. And then to the phone number, they are going to receive an OTP. They using that, they can make the login process. So in our demo, we are going to use the phone. So I have already enabled the phone option in the local accounts. Suppose if you are going to use Google for your as a identity provider, in that case, again, you need to follow some set of steps that are mentioned in the help document. You need to create some app in the Google Workspace, and then you need to share the security client ID, client secret, those kind of steps here to integrate it with your application. So these steps will differ for for each of the identity provider. For example, Facebook, it will be a different thing. For LinkedIn, again, it is going to be different. So you just need to follow the help document, and you can create the required apps or settings in the target identity provider and provide the client ID, client secret here, and then you can connect it with your application. So in our case, since we are going to explore about phone login, I have already turned on the phone. And the next step is user flows. This is the thing that I have already mentioned. So I'm going to create a new user flow. So I'm going to create a new user flow for sign in and sign up. For both the purpose, I want to create a user flow. And then I am selecting the recommended one so that I can make only little changes and I can start using it with my application. I'm going to create a user flow. I'm providing a name for my user flow. And then in this case, we are going to use the local accounts with the phone sign up alone. And then I am leaving the rest of the things as it is. That is here. This is the user flow that we have created a few minutes back. And then in the properties, you can see that by default, this option will be selected, turned on. this option is, suppose if you have if the user has forgotten his logging in phone number, you need to provide some way to recover it. For recovery option, we can provide a way, we can provide email as a recovery option. So by default, this option is turned on. And then I have turned off the MFA and the rest of the things. And the next thing you need to make aware of is user attributes. When the user is going to sign into your application, what are the things that you want to collect it from your users? So in our case, we are going to collect country and the display name. I have saved that. And then application claims. Application claims is nothing but once the user authenticated against the system, your application is going to receive a token. In that token, there are few claims or few details will get embedded. What are the, suppose if you want to get the user display name, his email ID, or country and those profile details to use it in your application. For example, you might need the user's display name to show in the top right of your application. You may want to show the user's name, welcome, the user one like that, or you may want to show the user's photo, or according to the country, you may want to provide a different kind of experience. You can do everything using this application claims. So again, I'm going to enable display name and country alone, and I'm saving it. So almost my user flow is completed. The required things I have configured. So we are going to use the phone login, and then I'm going to collect the country and the display name during the sign-in process, sign-in, sign-up process. So before going to run this user flow, we may need to create an application in Azure AD B2C. In the interest of time, I have already created an application in Azure AD B2C. One thing that I want to show here is when you create an Azure AD B2C app, make sure you have enabled access token and ID token. I will be explaining about access token and ID token at the end in the last part of the session. You need to enable these two, and then since it is going to be a web app, I have added web as a platform, and then I have provided jwt.ms as my replay URL. Basically, in real-time scenarios, this is going here. You need to input your application's URL here. So I have already created the app. Now I am going to run this user flow. So here I need to select the app that I have created in Azure AD B2C. So this is web app is the app that I have created, and this is the URL that I have mentioned. Now I am going to run this. So since I'm going to running this for the very first time, let me make sure my phone number is available in Azure AD B2C. If it is available, I'm going to delete it. So my phone number is not there, so I'm safe to sign up. So I have given my phone number, and I will be receiving an SMS code, or OTP code as an SMS. I just received. I am verifying it. My code has been verified, and then I am good to go. Since the mobile number has been verified, I am go ahead and provide the profile data. My country name is India, and I'm providing my display name. So the profile is going to be, the user account is going to be created. Since we have enabled recovery email, I need to verify my email ID also in a similar way. Again, it is going to send an code to my email that I need to verify. I am waiting for a OTP in my email. My email address is also verified and I am continuing it. So we have created the profile for the user and my application jwt.ms received the token. Basically, jwt.ms is a web app that we normally use. The developers will be using it to decode the token and understand what are the things available. You can see in the application claims, we have enabled country and the display name that we are receiving it here. Since we have enabled those details, we are receiving it. Suppose if I have not enabled, my application won't be getting these details. So now you got some idea. We created an user flow using phone login. Now we have signed up. So in similar way, we can sign in with the phone number also. So this is the first part of the demo. And you can see how simple it is. Once you have enabled the user flow and make the required settings, you are ready to go and you can readily integrate with your applications. We have this is the resource that you need to follow. This Microsoft Docs you can follow for this local account phone sign in. Next thing is identity protection, and my colleague Vinodha will be explaining it. Back to you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm sharing the screen. Are you able to see my screen? And is my voice audible to you?
Yes, yes, you're audible.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm going to take the identity protection. First of all, we are going to discuss the incredible capabilities of Microsoft about risk detection. And these are now available to you using the detection of real-time sign-in risk and detection of user risk, which is an offline assessment of whether an account is currently compromised in any way. And one incredible reason why Microsoft can do this so well is because they do it consistently across a gigantic world of different applications and services. And 1.2 billion devices scanned each month, and security being in 90% of enterprises, and over 1 billion Azure accounts, that is user accounts, are protected, and it controls very sensitive resources that depend on, and even it identify botnet networks that come up and come down at regular intervals, and also specific crimes are analyzed, and Microsoft continuously invest in those systems. Mainly they focus on password spray attacks because there is an increase in password spray attack last year, and we have 9 million high risk enterprise sign in attempts and 2 million compromised accounts detected. Now we are going to discuss about two types of risks that are identified, and the signals are available for the reporting to you in the B2C context. The first one is user risk, which is offline detection, and the next one is sign-in risk, which is real-time detection. And first, we are going to see the user risk types. From user's perspective, this is the offline detection called Azure AD Threat Intelligence, and this is really about a collection of information that helps you to evaluate the users with the help of users pattern. That is, it shows the IP address, where they came from, and it shows what apps they have been using. And these user risks and sign-in risk are calculated using Microsoft internal and external threat intelligence sources, such as which includes security researchers, law enforcement professionals in Microsoft, and security teams, etc. And next comes is sign-in risk. It is all about starting a new session. That is, it represents that a given authentication request is not authorized by a identity owner. Let's see different sign-in types. First one is atypical travel, which means the risk is deducted when users authenticate from geographically distant locations. That is, it identifies two sign-ins originating from geographically distant locations. That is, it has a machine learning algorithm. With the help of this machine learning algorithm, it takes the time between the two sign-ins and calculate the time taken for the user to travel from first location to the second location, and it calculates the risk. And next one is anonymous IP. It is a real-time detection, and this risk is triggered when a user authenticates from anonymous IP. For example, when the user authenticates using Tor browser or anonymous VPN, etc. And next thing is malware linked IP address. And this risk type indicates signing from IP address infected with malware. And next comes is unfamiliar sign-in properties, which means this considers past signing history such as IP address, latitude, longitude. And normally the system ignores when a signing happened in familiar locations. And this unfamiliar sign-in properties risks are detected when a user sign in from a location that's not already in the list of familiar locations list. And next, you all know about a password spray. A password spray attack is where multiple usernames are attacked using common passwords to gain unauthorized access. So these risks are covered under sign-in risk. And normally, identity protection is overall combination of detecting the risk and doing something about the detected risk, such as you can apply policies in those detected risks, such as conditional access policies. Let's explain this with example. We begin with the normal signing in into the applications by giving username and password. Immediately, the real-time deductions are applied and a score is attributed to that particular login. Score in the sense it shows whether it is a low risk or medium risk or high user risk or sign-in risk. In this example, it shows a medium sign-in risk. And after the risk is detected, it does not do anything, but you can tell what to do after the risk is detected. In this case, through a conditional access policy, I'm going to handle the risk. For this medium sign-in risk, the policy, that is the conditional access policy, trigger multi-factor authentication request for the user. Using conditional access policy, you can trigger MFA request to a US user or a group of user or over a group of user, and you can protect some specific applications. And next thing is the signals come out of conditional access policy can be communicated back to your application. So your application can decide what to do next. In this case, if it is passed with MFA request, then it proceeds with the next step. If it is failed, then it creates a risk event. And similarly, we have also offline deductions, and these also provides risk events. And if the user's risks are elevated, then a user have to, that is the user require a complete sign-in or a password reset when they come in next time. Next, we are going to see the demo on identity protection and conditional access policy. Yes, I'm in Azure AD B2C tenant and I have a premium P2 license. Now I'm going to create a conditional access policy. And here under the security section, you have conditional access. I'm going to show you the already created policy. Here I have given the policy name. And under the users and groups section, I have included all the users and I have exclude some specific set of users. And in the cloud app section, I have included one web app. So when users authenticate using this web application, then I can, as administrator, I can block access or grant access. And in the condition section, I have included user risk and sign-in risk. In user risk, I have included the level, high risk level and medium risk level. And also sign-in risk, I have included the high and medium risk level. And according to devices and locations, I have included all devices and all locations. And in the access control section, as administrator, you can block the access. You can totally block the access, or you can allow the access, but require multi-factor authentication, or you can require password change. And after doing all these operations, you can enable this policy on and save the policy. Once you save the policy gets immediately activated. And next, we are going to see the user flows. In the previous demo, we have seen how to create the user flow. Now I'm going to link this user flows with those conditional access policy. I have a user flow called B2C form test. And before that is in the property section, here I have I have enabled an MFA enforcement to conditional, and I have enabled that is enforce the conditional access policy. So the user flow is linked with those conditional access policy. Now I'm going to run this user flow. I have created conditional access policy for this particular application. Now I'm going to check, I'm going to authenticate with the help of anonymous browser. Now I'm going to use the Tor browser to authenticate.
I think you might be aware of both Tor browser, which mask all the IP address and everything, origin ID, everything. So we are using this Tor browser to provide a security risk to our system.
I'm going to authenticate with phone number. Yes, I received OTP. Yes, I think some error happens. But when you using the phone number, when you authenticate from the Tor browser, it completely blocked the access. Using the conditional access policy gets activated and it completely blocked the access. And you can also see the reporting of risk users risk and sign-in risk. Here you have risky users reporting. Here it shows all the details, that is username, user ID, and risk level, and the locations, and all the details are given here. Based on the risk, you can make a decision such as you can reset a password or confirm the user compromised, or you can dismiss the user risk, or you can block the user. So in the risk reductions, it also shows all the reporting details, IP, location, and the risk type. Based on this, you can make the decision. And these are all the resources. You can see how to integrate user and sign-in based conditional policy in Azure AD B2C. Thank you.
Actually, in this blog, we have entirely blocked the everything. What is user risk? What is sign-in risk? How you can create an Azure AD B2C tenant. And for this, you need to use conditional access policy. You need premium P2 license. We have also shown how to set the pricing tier. And finally, how you can create a conditional access policy, and then you can set various and along with the sign-in and user risk. And we have shown what are the different reports available and how you can use it. So everything, the entire thing what Vinodha has demoed is have been blocked in this URL. Thanks, Vinodha. Let me share my screen. So the next thing is API connectors. Suppose consider that you are using the predefined user flows. Suppose if you want to integrate the sign up process with your system, maybe once the user has signed up, there might be some custom actions like you might want to trigger an email campaign to him. Or you may want to, once the user has signed up in Azure AD B2C, if you want to create some other things, or you may want to provision some resources in your backend, where for to do these kind of things, you can use API connectors. You can consider API connectors as a hook, webhook, or something similar to that. So you can use API connectors as a webhook, and then you can integrate with your other systems in your backend. For example, you can validate the user sign up data, or you may want to provision additional system in your backend, or you may want to run your own custom business logic, whatever it can be. Everything we can do in the API connectors. So where you can enable these API connectors before an user has been created, that is the sign up process. Just before the sign up process is going to complete, you can enable this API connector. For example, the user has provided all the details, and then, for example, consider that users with the specific domains are only allowed. Or suppose consider that you don't want to allow the user's email login, or whose email ID has the domain something like gmail.com, or this public email IDs that you won't do. If you don't want to allow, then you can do that action. If you only want to allow the organizational IDs, or you want to do any validation on the domain name part, you can do using this API connectors. The one thing is, just before the user is going to be created, you can enable, or you can integrate, or where you can enable the API connector. Similarly, if you are going to use a federated identity provider for sign up, like Facebook, Gmail, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever it is, there also you can enable this API connector. And currently, this feature, sending the just before sending the token to your applications for sign in and sign up action, is in preview. Now let's jump on to the demo for the API connector. One minute. I have already created an API connector. So one thing I want to show here. So to use API connector, so this is a sample solution or a project that is available in GitHub. We have provided the URL for the same. So what we are trying to do is that my application, I want my application to allow only domains with gmail.com alone. I only want to allow user sign in or user signups only with gmail.com alone. If I am signing up with something with a different domain name, I don't want to allow the sign up. So this is the business case that we are going to see. So here I just made the little changes in the original GitHub source. And if it is not the case gmail.com domain, then we are going to get an error. This is the case we are going to see. And then what we have done is that we have published this project as Azure function in Azure so that I can easily use it with my Azure AD B2C API connector. So assume that I have done all these steps like publishing into Azure function and everything earlier. Now I am coming back to my Azure AD B2C tenant. There you can find a section called API connectors. And then in the API connector, just click on the new API connector, provide a display name, and then provide your Azure function URL and type of authentication, whatever it is, select it. I have already created a API connector called API-connector. This is my Azure function URL. And then I have set an username and password for my connector. And then basic authentication I am using. So I have provided all those details. So we have an API connector got added to my Azure AD B2C. Then next step, what we are going to do is that I'm going to use this API connector in my user flow. So again, I am in my user flow and then go to the API connector section. And you can see here in the previous slide, I have mentioned where are the places where you can use these API connectors. Very first thing is signing up using an identity provider or just before the user going to get signed up or just before your application is going to get the application claims. So in all the places I have enabled my API connector. If you don't want, you can just leave it as not selected. I have selected. Now I'm going to run my user flow. This user flow, we are using the email as a type of authentication method as a local account. Email sign up that I have enabled. So for sign up process, I need to provide a valid username. I'm clicking the sign up now option. Let's wait for the OTP or the verification code. I have verified the code. Since I have given something different domain India Cloud Security Summit.com, it should not, it won't allow my user flow, my API connector won't allow. Here you can see the error message that I have shown in my sample, GitHub sample. So we are done with the the third part of the demo. These are the resources. Again, this entire process, whatever I have demoed for API connector, that we have already documented as a blog. You can refer these resources. And this is the final part, continuous access evaluation. So before jumping into this topic, only three things you need to know. There are some basic things you need to understand about tokens. There are three kind of tokens: ID token, access token, and reference token. Consider ID token. You will be getting the ID token once you validate against a particular system or the identity provider. You can assume ID token as your passport. Assume that you are going to, you are an Indian citizen and you are going to Singapore. So to go to Singapore, the very basic requirement is passport. So by having a passport, you are validating and saying that I am a legitimate user and I am this system by providing various documents and everything, and you are proving yourself. And then the access token. Access token is nothing but you can consider this as a visa to get into Singapore. So to get a visa, you need a passport. So you will be going to, you get a passport from the authority, and then you will be going to the consulate, Singapore consulate or embassy, wherever it is, and then you will be applying for the visa by providing proper validation. So you are first validating against the identity provider, getting the token, and using this token, you are going to get an access token to get into the particular system. So in our example, to get into Singapore, you need a valid visa. The visa can be either a business visa or a tourist visa. So if you have a tourist visa, then you can't go and make any business meetings like that. So what is the scope of that visa? So you can do only those kind of activities. So in the access token, we will be defining it. What are the access I have in this system? Whether I can read, write, whether I can add additional entries. What are the things I can add? Those kind of scope or the permissions are defined in the access token. Along with the access token, you will be getting the reference token also. Access tokens are short-lived ones. You will be receiving access token for a predefined time like 1 or 2 or 30 minutes, whatever it is. So once the time got expired, again you need to validate against your identity provider. You need to prove and get an access token. So this getting access token again and again is a time-consuming one. So we have a new kind of token called reference token. Using this reference token, you can contact the ID provider, get a new access token. Like that, it has been. So I have already mentioned these access tokens are live with a predefined time. Assume that you got an access token for 2 hours or 4 hours of time and you can make all the required changes. In this 4 hours of time gap, something has been compromised on that particular user account. Your application don't know, or your application won't aware of this compromise. The system got compromised or the user account got compromised, those kind of things your application don't know. So this is the drawback that we had earlier. Now, to avoid this, Microsoft came with a solution called continuous access evaluation. So once you use continuous access evaluation, the main advantage that you are getting is that your application going to aware or have the information or the knowledge that the user account has been compromised. So when the user in the time gap of 4 hours, the user account got compromised and the user is trying to make any operations, he will get his token will get rejected and he will get access denied error. This is the thing that I have this documentation page shows and how you can enable continuous access evaluation in your APIs. So everything that again, this docs will provide Microsoft Docs will provide information on continuous access evaluation. So
Sorry to interrupt,
finally, yeah.
Narasima. Actually, only 5 minutes left, and it's good. Like you already shared the slide. Yeah, we have this session code, and this session code is unique for each session. Please enter this session in our feedback form, which I already shared in the chat window. And the more you enter the correct session, the more you will get the chance of winning the raffle prizes, which is really good. And I'm also sharing the team URL for the next session, and which is after maybe 4 minutes. And it's a very nice session by Mohammed Faisal, and the session will be on building secure and an efficient cloud landing zone. So, I mean, and if you guys want to ask questions and Nasima, you still want to answer the question, you guys can still be there. But if they want to attend another session, I already sent the URL in the chat window, and also we have the feedback form where you can enter the session code. I'm sharing that particular form again.
Okay, thank you, Pooja. I think I might have rushed on multiple topics, but again, we want to show the entire capability, so we have included multiple demos. So you might be aware that the entire session is
Really
a
good. It's really
demo.
good. Yeah, the way you enter, the way you demoed us of different topics and way you collaborated it together was really good session, and we learned really definitely learned a lot. And all the people have a lot of questions too, you know, and you can give the answers if you want.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And it's a great show, and thank you so much. Really
Okay.
thank you. Yeah.
Guys, I'm just checking the chat window for questions. I think for many questions I have already answered in the chat window. Yes, you have some question, please go ahead. I will be sharing my LinkedIn URL also. There, if you have any questions, you can chat with me anytime. Thank you guys for joining our session. I have shared my LinkedIn URL. Please chat with me for any questions that you have. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, please. It's really great learning for all of us. And you guys still want to ask questions, you can connect with him personally on his LinkedIn ID. And hope we get more sessions. And I already shared the team URL for another session. If you guys want that, I'm sharing again. So just to make sure it's there for everyone. Thank you, Nasima. Thank you
Thank you,
so
Pooja.
much,
Thank
team.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, all.